Namaste friends, welcome. We are live from Khandala at our monastery in this session of the Affirmations of Self-Healing webinar. We usually do these affirmations based on the book Affirmations for Self-Healing written by Swami Kriyananda. Every week we do one affirmation for each week. We do this every week at the monastery, all of us monks together, and it is really very powerful. So today the topic is energy, and as usual we'll start with the reading followed by affirmation and then a prayer. We'll do the longer practice of affirmation at the end. Before we begin, my name is Brahmachari Ramesh, with us is Brahmachari Gaurav. So the reading goes like this. Energy is ours not when we hoard our strength, but when we devote it willingly, joyously towards the attainment of that in which we deeply believe. Faith and energy go hand in hand. If you have deep faith in what you are doing, you can move mountains. The greater one's faith, the greater his willpower, and the greater his willpower, the greater his flow of energy. I will read the affirmation first before we do it. Within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. Behind my every act is God's infinite power. Now let us do it together. First I will say it loud, then I will wait for you to repeat it. Within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. Behind my every act is God's infinite power. Now in a normal voice, absorbing the meaning of the words. Within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. Behind my every act is God's infinite power. Now whispering, taking it into subconscious. Within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. Behind my every act is God's infinite power. Now repeat after me mentally. Within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. Behind my every act is God's infinite power. Now bringing it to the point between the eyebrows, super consciousness. Within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. Behind my every act is God's infinite power. Let us pray together. O cosmic energy, vitalize all the cells of my body. Recharge my mind with boundless inspiration. Fill my soul with thy inexhaustible joy. Om. With that, I pass to Brahmachari Gaurav.
Good evening and welcome friends. It's a joy to be here with all of you. And today, as Ramesh was saying, we will talk about this topic of energy. This is from Swamiji's book, Affirmations for Self-Healing. And so the way this will go today is that I will speak about something, thread, on energy, and Ramesh will approach it in another way. And you can say Ramesh will approach it more in terms of how, we want energy in our lives, how do we do it? And to a certain extent, I will also do that, but I will pick up a thread which has worked in my life, and I think it is a secret. It's not my secret, but you can say I have discovered it, with the blessings of our gurus and the teachings, these great teachings that we have. So this secret basically is very simple in one sense. When I was growing up, in Ananda, and Swami Kriyananda, who was, direct disciple of Yogananda ji, he would be around. And, there was about 7 to 8 years when I was, you can say, around where Swamiji was, either in, in Delhi or in Pune or wherever he was. And I would often hear him. Of course, I was very young at that age, but whenever I would have a chance to be in a satsang or a talk he would give, I would often hear him repeat a statement. And this was in one context or the other. He would say things like, but you have to feel that God is the doer. And that is one way out of ego bondage, which we are trying to do, is to practice realize that God is the doer. So in one way or the other, he would repeat that God is the doer. And I heard it for so many years, and of course, I remember that. But all those years, 7, 8, 10 years, when I would hear that, it would not make much sense to me. You can say it was philosophical, and I got the philosophy of it, that okay, it's good to know that God is the doer, but the major part of my mind, of my heart, would say, but that's not true. I am the doer, and this is me who's talking, and this is me who's going through my life and these life experiences. But it takes time for a truth, for wisdom sometimes to be ingrained deeply within you. And I think Swamiji is saying that thing so many times. There is a reason why saints repeat just even a phrase over and over again. And it is after many years now, almost 15, 16 years, since I first perhaps heard him say that it is only now that of late, not too long ago, I realized that maybe there is some truth to it, and I started to practice it in little ways. And what I found was that more and more, as I began to practice it in small ways, I would, for example, ask myself that when at a dining table, I would ask myself, I am chewing this, but the food goes in my stomach, and who or what energy is really digesting it? And then perhaps I am going for a walk, and I would say, I see that I am moving, but what is this energy that is moving these legs? What is this energy that allows me to pick up this glass or this book? What is this energy when I look at myself in a mirror that causes my eyelashes to flicker? And in this way, through small things, also, let's say when I iron my clothes, I find this so relaxing, because in that simple exercise, I'm able to observe what is this energy that moves my hand over this cloth in this, graceful manner, and that intelligence behind it. And more as I began to do this, we are wondering how is this related to energy and getting more energy. But there is a secret here, that more and more as I began to feel, I am not the doer, I really am not. I am really merely just a thought, a dream that I exist. But what is it that accomplishes? What is it that manifests anything in my life? It is something that is flowing in me. Whether it is energy that is flowing in me, maybe it is creativity that flows through me, maybe it is harmony that I am able to express through my relationships, maybe it is intelligence that flows again in the form of a thought, but just to keep that slight distance to realize and not to identify that these are mine. Now you might think that what has this got to do with energy? And I would say it has everything to do with energy, because what happens step by step when we start to realize that we are simply not the doers, we are, you can say, watching something play in front of our eyes manifest through us. When we realize that, then friends, what happens is we, with our limited egos, begin to get out of the picture. And we actually then start becoming more and more in tune with the actual source of energy that changes us, with the actual flow of love or kindness or enthusiasm, rather than who is doing that action. Because when our focus is on who is doing a certain action, or who is having that wonderful thought, or who accomplished that task, then that is the source and the beginning of limitation. That is when we feel overwhelmed by life, when, we feel all these things are happening and I have no energy left to do them, because our concentration is fixed on the who. If you think of it from a yogic point of view, it is also relates to our spine. We know as yogis that we are trying to raise our energy higher and higher towards the brain, towards the spiritual eye. But what point must that energy pass? in order to reach this point. We know that it has to pass through this point in the back of the brain, the medulla oblongata, and this is the seat of ego, as yogis say. So you can be trying your best through willpower and, just, I will do this, I will accomplish this, and that is good in the beginning to start there. But a point comes that when the energy starts to move up, it has to pass through this point. And if at that point you have not tuned yourself to the concept of flow, that it's a flow happening through me, the energy will get stuck here. And to the degree that it gets stuck here and it cannot move freely upward, all your successes, everything in life will be limited, and there will be something always off. I've often, as we go through life, had this experience that when I'm putting a lot of willpower, when I'm trying to accomplish things, trying to generate energy, I instantly know when I am off, because there is tension. And when there is tension, I know there is ego. I am thinking of I doing something rather than what is trying to flow through me. And if you can just create that slight separation, that something is trying to flow through me, infinite energy perhaps is trying to flow through me, and I am just willing. I'm just cooperating with grace, as Swami used to say, that the energy is there, you are not creating it, but you are, through your willingness, allowing it to express through you. And so off late, I find myself, when a situation comes, when a problem comes, when a challenge comes, I actually stop and I say, I can't do this. And not in a, because that actually is not the spirit, but where I'm leading to is I say, I can't do this because I actually do not exist. That I has no reality. So I can't do this, but He can do anything through me. And that is the highest truth, that anything is possible if we allow His energy, His harmony, His creativity, His thoughts, His power, His intelligence. When you can shift your focus mentally as yogis, as truth seekers to that, then anything is possible. Then you can, then you ask yourself, if His energy is allowing me to pick up this book, it is not I who am ordering my hands to do it, then can His energy not allow me to do greater things? Of course it can, but to realize that, to make that bridge. So I feel that is very important, and that is a secret that we can use in our lives to tune more and more to that flow of energy rather than putting ourselves in the picture, because that actually blocks, limits that flow of energy. So experiment with this. And one benefit I have found lastly in doing this practice now is that where in the past I would get easily stressed, easily overwhelmed. Remember, where does stress come from? When the focus is on the I and not on the flow. But when I have been able to realize, I don't exist. I'm just allowing this task to take place. I'm just allowing this action to be done. Then I found all my tasks going easily. I'm not, conflicted. And there is a sense of ease, and there is no burden, on that I have to accomplish this, I have to do this task, that is a duty. So those sort of things fade in the background. So that is what I would leave you the thought with, that in order to have more and more energy in your life, and these other qualities which are actually expressions of energy, you can say, whether it's kindness or enthusiasm or joy, whatever it might be, focus on those qualities and realize, as Swami says in this reading, within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. But because behind my every act is God's infinite power. The power is His, it supplies it, and it is within us. So all we have to do is to practice it, first in small ways, and in time you will see that even in the great things that you do, that people praise you about, there will be no sense of pride, because you would have said, it doesn't matter, I have learned the trick, it's not me, something else is accomplishing, something else is manifesting this through me.
Thank you, Gaurav. Yes, as he said, and as the reading says, that Energy is highest when our cause is just and our faith in it is deep. Similarly, when we have faith in God and God's flow of energy flowing through us, we can move mountains. Now, coming to how we move mountains on the practical level, the energy which we feel, there is a certain connection between the willpower and energy. People sometimes think when they hear the term willpower that, oh, I'm going to do this with that intense tension and strain, and that is not completely willpower. Swamiji said in an easy way, willpower is willingness. Willingness to do what you want to do. That yes, I am willing to do this thing. I am willing to put energy into it. I am willing to make it work. And how do you are willing? The key to willingness, as mentioned in the reading again, was joyous enthusiasm. That you like it. That is why you are able to put energy into it. There is one way a person puts energy into anything is they like it. Have you seen children who are supposed to do their homework say, I can't do it, I'm so tired, I want to do something else? Their energy goes instantly down. Myself also when I was in school. Why? Because you don't like it, you are not willing to do it. But if you just tell that same child at the moment that, oh, come on, let it go, let's just go out and play or get some ice cream, immediately their willingness and energy will be at the highest level, and they would have energy to go for hours and hours at end. Similarly, each and every action of us can be based on willingness, that if we are willing to do it, if we want to do it, we will have the energy to do it. But if we are not willing, we ourselves put blocks to our energy, as he was telling that I cannot do it. That I is the obstacle which we get rid when we see the higher power flowing through us. I will relate an amazing incident, you can say a story, which happened when Paramahansa Yogananda ji was in US in the 1920s. It was 1925 January. He was touring across USA left and right on his spiritual campaigns. So everywhere the cities were giving him huge responses. So they wanted him to form the headquarters of his organization in their cities. He said he will form it in Los Angeles. And how that headquarters came to be about is the story. So he found a place, just while on a drive with some other disciples, he found a place called Mount Washington Estate. So he went there, it was a private property, and he went there and he said, this feels like home. So he said to his disciples, this is your home, we will found our headquarters here. So then the practical things came into the picture of how much you will pay for the property. And at that moment, the first time it was said to be $65,000, and he was willing to sign on that amount. But the moment he was willing to do it, he got an inspiration that he stopped. He said God wants him to do it for much less. So then negotiations happened, and it easily came down to $45,000. And that's just not the end of the story. They wanted the $45,000 to be paid in 3 months entirely. Now one of the disciples, when she heard the amount of 3 months, time period of 3 months, she said, what, that much amount will take 20 years. Yogananda ji, being willing, being a channel for God and being in tune with God's will, said 20 years for those who think 20 years, 20 months for those who think 20 months, 3 months for those who think 3 months. And he put out the energy immediately to collect that amount to be paid in 3 months' time. He got inspired to go to a person whose husband was sick. So he went there. He said, the doctor said the person because of pneumonia would not survive. Yogananda ji said he will survive, and he prayed deeply for that person, and the person survived. The lady whose husband was this person, the lady agreed to loan $25,000 to Yogananda ji. Similarly, Yogananda ji made other calls, other disciples, other centers, and the amount came collected to $40,000. Still 5,000 were missing. And Yogananda ji was not seeing any way he could get those $5,000, but he didn't let his joy go, didn't let his willingness go. He kept at it. He had faith in God, and his cause was just. So what happened? He felt an inspiration from cosmic consciousness. He remembered a lady who he had interviews with 2 times. He called her and asked her, will she be able to loan him $5,000 for this cause? And she had actually received a loan back from a person she had forgotten about for the exact amount of $5,000, and she said she would loan it. The condition was that it should be paid in 3 months. So she actually came on the very last day, few minutes before the deal to be signed off with the $5,000. Yogananda ji said, Divine Mother likes to keep his life interesting. Such is the interesting way we live in when we have our faith in God, when we are willing and let the flow of energy flow through us, and we accomplish what we put our will to with the infinite power of God. Now let us practice this affirmation in a much more deeper way with Brahmachari Gaurav.
Thank you, Ramesh. So friends, we will practice this affirmation now on energy. And what I will do is I will, of course, start with reading what Swamiji says about energy. And after that, I will guide us in the practice of the affirmation. And we will do it several times. In fact, we'll do it 15 times as we did last week also. And 3 times, in a loud voice, then 3 times in a softer voice, in a whisper 3 times, and mentally 3 times, and finally deeply at the Christ center we will repeat this. So I would say that please sit up straight now and let's center ourselves for a moment. Sit up straight and hold your focus very strongly at the point between the eyebrows. And as we say these words, don't just say them without any feeling. Feel that what you are saying is true. It is an affirmation, but it is a truth already. And if you do, you will draw that quality to yourself. So I will say first the reading for this week on energy. Energy is ours not when we hoard our strength, but when we devote it willingly, joyously, toward the attainment of that in which we deeply believe. Faith and energy go hand in hand. If you have deep faith in what you are doing, you can move mountains. Energy is always highest when one's cause is just. The greater one's faith, the greater his willpower. And the greater his willpower, the greater his flow of energy. So let's repeat this loudly at first. Within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. Behind my every act is God's infinite power. Within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. Behind my every act is God's infinite power. Within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. Behind my every act is God's infinite power. In a softer voice now, within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. Behind my every act is God's infinite power. Within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. Behind my every act is God's infinite power. Within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. Behind my every act is God's infinite power. In a whisper now, taking it into the subconscious, within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. Behind my every act is God's infinite power. Within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. Behind my every act is God's infinite power. Within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. Behind my every act is God's infinite power. Repeat this silently now. Within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. Behind my every act is God's infinite power. Within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. Behind my every act is God's infinite power. Within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. Behind my every act is God's infinite power. Finally, with rising aspiration, repeat this at the Christ center. Within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. Behind my every act is God's infinite power. Within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. Behind my every act is God's infinite power. Within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. Behind my every act is God's infinite power. Mentally repeat this prayer. O cosmic energy, vitalize all the cells of my body. Recharge my mind with boundless inspiration. Fill my soul with thy inexhaustible joy. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you, friends. We hope you enjoyed this affirmation, and we would suggest that you practice this throughout this coming week. And we will see you again now next week, where our topic will be on sharing. So thank you, joy to you, and we will see you again next week at 8 o'clock.